In my final year of high school, I took a creative writing class because I wanted to better myself at writing and structuring a story. I've always been learning to improve my art, but I never thought of actually taking a real class to become a decent storyteller until last year. So, as soon as the class started, I had a really good feeling. Most of the people in there were bearable to be around, and the teacher was to become one of my favorites. Until one fateful day when he decided to ruin everything with poetry. I would usually get along with my creative writing teacher, but poetry is something that will always divide us forever. When he looks at poetry, he sees something creative, beautiful, pleasing to the ear. On the other hand, I've been on the internet and I've seen what it and Tumblr has to offer. Just to be clear, I'm talking about modern poetry. The old stuff is still good. For example, the Odyssey is a poem, and I enjoy that. Anyway, Mr. Spring was the name of my teacher, and he's probably gonna see this video, so... Sup, King Spring? How you doing? 'Twas fairly early in the year when a few friends and I were just writing our daily journal entries in a non-edgy way, when Mr. Spring announced the next assignment in such a vile manner.
Has anybody ever written poetry? Because we're going to do poetry.
Curse you, Charlie Spring! Sorry. While Mr. Spring was describing the requirements of everything we're supposed to do, a friend of mine named Jason was scrolling through Urban Dictionary and looking at different expressions that involved the word or action of going number 2. Remember that for later. The end goal of the assignment was to write a free verse poem about whatever we wanted, and we present it to the poetry slam organized by Mr. Spring himself. We were allowed to work in groups, so Jason and I got a 4-person group that included 2 other of my friends, Alex and Julia. None of us were sold on the idea of poetry. We were ready to mock the long and convoluted emotional imagery by using comedy. You know, what Bo Burnham does, i.e. the only bearable type of poetry. By that time, Jason reached the bottom of his Urban Dictionary page, and he suggested we do a poem about all these new exciting terms he learned. Unfortunately, Mr. Spring was being a vicious party pooper and I was all like,
Yeah, sorry guys, but you can't have cuss words in your poems.
Hey, I'm Mr. Spring and I say you can't have cuss words in your poems. I'm just joking. After a little more brainstorming, we shifted our focus a little and it was time to write it as a group. However, again, we only got 4 lines down before I had to write the entire rest of the poem on my own time, because the deadline was coming up and nobody else thought of doing it. But I wasn't mad, because it actually was a lot of fun to write, so Alex, Jason, and Julia were totally missing out. And when it came time to share the poem in front of a crowd, it was a complete success, actually. And as promised, I will read it to you, so strap in! But lo, the bell tolls, mine frat bros will go to the mart beyond the wall, where the wizened wizard waits, and utters, What lies you? Your abdomen is in great distress. The remedy thy seeketh lieth in the 13th corridor. Have at thee, ferocious fret, and endeth thy brown curse. The bros in arms venture to the depth of the dangerous dungeon. Nay, water buffalo riding banshee may block their path. Nay, temptress nymph may steer thou away. Nay, 6-legged centaur, or any fearsome foe shall getteth in thy way. Lead us, O flamboyant fairy, take us to the corridor. We seeketh nay treasure, nor marvelous maiden, but only savin from the demons of the south. A chalice! The one we seeketh! We grasp it with our hands, we trade it for our silver. Back to mine kind kingdom, back to mine thrilling throne. Our bowels will be free, the Saracen's poison will slither out. This is better than filling mine tum-tum with much rum-rum. 'Tis good to finally shit.
That was beautiful.
I know, right? Eat your heart out, Homer, because there's a new epic poet in town.
So segues are weird.
Wait, what? Hey guys, thanks for watching my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I'd like to give a special thanks to 8-Bit for providing the voice of Mr. Spring. Link to his channel right here. And speaking of other YouTubers, Alex, who has been mentioned in a few videos now, actually just started his own YouTube channel, so check that one out as well, right here. With that said, have a nice meal. While Mr. Spring was describing... Tongue twister. While Mr. Spring was describing the requirements... Oh my god, this is too hard. While Mr. Spring was describing the While Mr. Spring was describing the I can't do it. While Mr. Spring was describing the requirements of stuff, a friend of mine, named Jason, was scrolling through... Okay, that's a good take.